A woman tried to kick a man out of a private pool, convinced he didn't belong there. What she didn't realize, he owned the entire property, including her apartment. It all went down on a scorching Tuesday afternoon in Austin, Texas. The kind of heat that made the pavement ripple and patience thin. Most residents of Willow Pines apartments had escaped indoors, thankful for air conditioning, but Celeste Granger, 61, wasn't the type to sit still. Mornings were for volunteering, afternoons for patrolling the complex, making sure everything was just right, or so she told herself. Rules mattered to her. Who belonged, who didn't, and today something or someone didn't fit. She had just stepped out of Building D, sunglasses on, wide-brimmed visor snug on her head, when she spotted him. A tall black man sat at the poolside table, sipping from a reusable bottle, flipping through what looked like a textbook or financial journal. His clothes were simple, khaki shorts, a navy polo, nothing flashy, but Celeste didn't recognize him, and to her, that was a problem. She didn't hesitate. "Excuse me?" she called out, marching toward him. "Yes, you. Which unit are you visiting?" The man glanced up, mildly surprised but unshaken. He closed his book and rested his hands on the table. "I'm not visiting anyone," he said calmly. Celeste stiffened. "This pool is for residents only. Guests must be accompanied at all times. It's in the lease." "I know," he replied, still relaxed. "I'm not a guest." She squinted. "Then who are you?" A pause. He didn't answer right away, and that only made her more suspicious. "Just spending some time here," he said. "Right," she huffed. "Well, I'll need your unit number. If you can't provide it, I'm calling management. We've had problems before, people sneaking in." For a moment, he looked past her, not dismissively, but like he was weighing whether this was worth the trouble. A breeze rustled the bushes nearby. A lawnmower hummed in the distance. Finally, he said, "I don't live in any one unit, but I'm not trespassing." That sealed it. "You don't live here?" she snapped. "Then you don't get to use this pool. I don't care what you think. If you don't leave now, I'm reporting you." By now, 2 residents on their balconies were watching. Another woman at the far end of the pool lowered her sunglasses, leaning in. "I'd rather not make a scene," the man said. Celeste crossed her arms. "Too late. I'm getting security." She turned sharply, muttering under her breath as she stormed off toward the leasing office, but she only made it 3 steps before his voice stopped her. Not loud, not angry, just clear. "You might want to see this first." Celeste turned slowly. He held up his phone, screen open to an HOA app. There, in bold letters, was his name. Dr. Taven Elridge. Property owner, Willow Pines, LLC. Celeste stared, frozen. A resident on a balcony gasped. "Wait, what?" A man walking his dog slowed, catching a glimpse of the screen. Celeste scrambled to recover. "That doesn't mean you can just—" "Yes," Taven said gently, standing now, phone still raised. "It does. I bought this place 3 months ago, quietly. I don't like announcements." She blinked hard. "You own Willow Pines?" He nodded. "All 132 units." Celeste wasn't the only one stunned. Neighbors exchanged glances, faces flushed, mouths slightly open, no one sure what to say next. Dr. Taven Elridge had never been one for fanfare. He preferred observing over announcing, listening over lecturing, even after 15 years as a tenured professor of urban planning at the University of Arizona. His work focused on rebuilding struggling neighborhoods without pushing out the people who lived there. He wasn't the type to flip properties for profit. He studied communities, power, systems, and then, quietly, he changed them. Taven had bought Willow Pines in a quiet deal, no fanfare, no press. The complex was showing its age, but it had soul. Most units were filled with long-term tenants, working-class folks, retirees, single mums, couples rebuilding their lives, the kind of place where people still said hello in the parking lot but minded their own business. He didn't arrive with a clipboard, a team of contractors, or a polo shirt with some company logo. Just himself, a beat-up SUV, and unannounced visits at odd hours. He wanted to feel the place, who woke early, who walked their dog at night, who nodded hello, who kept to themselves. He wasn't there to judge, just to understand. A week after closing, he sat in on a Friday night HOA meeting, incognito, not to hide, but to hear how people really talked when they didn't know the owner was listening. A few voiced complaints, slow maintenance, stolen packages, a flickering light near the laundry room that hadn't been fixed in months. The tone was polite, but tired. Then there was Carla, a single mom with 3 kids and 2 jobs, who nervously asked the board if the new owner would raise rents. Tavin didn't speak up that night. He just listened. Then quietly, he paid for every repair and told management to freeze rents for 6 months. People like Carla reminded him of his own mother, who'd raised 3 boys while working the front desk at a Tempe clinic. She never complained, just kept moving. Tavin had learned early that real power wasn't in loud demands, it was in silent decisions. By the 2nd month, residents noticed small changes. Repairs got done faster. The dumpster area stayed clean. New security lights appeared without anyone asking. A few long-time tenants even smiled when the maintenance crew pulled in, but no one knew who was behind it. And Tavin kept showing up, sometimes to read by the pool, other times to walk the parking lot at dusk, making mental notes. He wasn't spying. He just believed ownership wasn't about distance. It was about responsibility. Or that Tuesday, he hadn't planned on being noticed, just wanted 30 minutes of peace by the water, a rare break in his day. But when Celeste marched over, everything he'd avoided, spotlights, confrontations, spectacles, landed right in his lap. Still, he didn't lose his cool. His mother once told him, "People don't always see what's in front of them, especially when it doesn't fit their expectations." That voice stayed with him as Celeste questioned him, accused him, nearly called security. He could have matched her tone. But that wasn't him. He'd dealt with worse: faculty meetings, airport profiling, even being mistaken for security at his own conference. Pulling out credentials just to be taken seriously. Old habit, he hated it, but he'd mastered choosing his battles. So when Celeste threatened to call security, he didn't argue. Just showed her his phone. Let the truth do the talking. But the revelation wasn't the end. It was the spark. By the time Celeste's voice sharpened enough to draw a crowd, 6 residents were watching, from balconies, windows, lawn chairs. Some wore the usual detached curiosity, unsure whether to step in or sip their iced tea. But the tension didn't sit right with everyone. Raymond Deacons, 74, a retired trucker from Amarillo, leaned over his 2nd-floor balcony, arms crossed on the chipped railing. He'd lived at Willow Pines for 9 years and knew everyone by face, if not by name. Celeste always got her nose in somebody's business, he muttered to his wife. But she picked the wrong one today. Below, Veronica Chase, a 38-year-old nurse, had caught the whole thing from her lounge chair. Celeste's barking, the man's calm, the phone reveal. Her book lay forgotten in her lap. Tavin stood, not to dominate, but with the quiet grace of someone who knew the moment had shifted. Celeste, flustered, scrambled for control. "Well, no one told us. Management should have sent a notice." She glanced at the onlookers. "How were we supposed to know?" Tavin gave a faint smile. "You weren't, but that doesn't excuse assumptions." From the balcony, Raymond chuckled. He got her. Near the gate, Miguel and Tessa Rojas stood with their toddler in a stroller. They couldn't hear every word, but the tone said enough. Miguel shook his head. "That woman stopped a pizza guy last month," he whispered to Tessa. "Wouldn't let him through without inspecting the box first." Celeste glanced around, suddenly aware that the pool area had turned into an audience. She scrambled to redirect. "I'm just saying, if people had been informed, maybe this misunderstanding wouldn't have happened. Tavin didn't move. His voice stayed steady. "You didn't ask. You assumed. There's a difference." The words landed like a hammer. Even those who might have sided with her earlier fell silent, not out of fear, but recognition. They'd just witnessed something rare, a loud, snap judgment met with quiet correction. Veronica stood, book in hand, and approached Tavin. "You okay?" "I am," he said. "Sorry you had to see that." She nodded. "Thank you." Celeste opened her mouth, then froze. Her eyes flickered between his phone screen and the watching crowd. This wasn't just about her anymore, it was about what she'd revealed in herself. Lonnie Graves, a soft-spoken widower who fed stray cats by the maintenance shed, passed by. He gave Tavin a silent nod and kept walking. That simple gesture spoke volumes. The energy shifted, not dramatically but palpably. The tension didn't vanish, it morphed, grew heavier. Tavin pocketed his phone and looked at Celeste. "I don't need an apology. I just hope you think about this." She didn't answer, just stood there, lips pressed tight, fingers white-knuckling her purse strap. Then, as if scripted, the maintenance golf cart rolled into view. Sandra Wu, the property's longest-serving employee, slowed down, eyes darting between them. Tavin gave her a small wave. She smiled back, clearly in the know. "Everything good here?" Sandra asked, parking beside them. "Just a conversation," Tavin said. Celeste looked away. What had started as a poolside spat had become something bigger, a mirror held up to everyone watching. Sandra's presence sealed it. She knew Tavin, not well, but enough. He'd introduced himself weeks ago, laid out his expectations, then let her work. No micromanaging, no ego. That alone earned her respect. Celeste, though, was unraveling, shoulders hunched, weight shifting between feet, eyes jumping from Sandra to Tavin and back. She was searching for an exit, a way to rewrite the moment without admitting the hard truth. Finally, she muttered, "I didn't mean harm, I'm just protective of this place." Her voice lacked its usual edge. Tavin let the words hang. "How long have you lived here?" 13 years, she said, standing taller. "And I've always enforced the rules." "I respect that," he replied. "But protecting a community isn't about policing strangers. It's about asking, not accusing." Her jaw twitched, but she swallowed her retort. From his balcony, Raymond called down, "Man's got a point, Celeste." Maybe we all should assume less. She flinched, caught between pride and shame. Tavin didn't push. Instead, he acknowledged the others, Veronica, the Rojas family, even Sandra, with a nod. "Look," he said, addressing the group. "I didn't come here for drama, just wanted a quiet moment." Miguel, still by the gate, raised a hand. "You handled that better than most would have." Veronica added, "I'd be furious in your shoes." "I've been angry before," Tavin admitted. "But anger burns fast, and sometimes people remember your reaction more than their own actions." Silence. No one argued. Sandra broke it. "Need anything, Mr. Elridge? Paperwork? Maintenance reports?" "Not today," he said. "Just here as a resident." Celeste bristled. "You could have told us you owned the place." He met her gaze. "I didn't think I needed to." The quietest line yet, and the sharpest. A reminder, he owed no explanations. Yet he'd given her one anyway, with grace. By now, more residents had drifted over, drawn by the buzz. A young man walking his dog whispered, "Wait, that's the new owner?" Raymond, still leaning over his balcony, let out a loud laugh. "Yep, and Celeste just tried to kick him out of the pool." It wasn't cruel, but it stung enough to make her flinch. Tavin, though, raised a hand slightly. "Let's not turn this into a spectacle." His calm only made the moment heavier. "I don't want folks treating her differently next week. That's not the point. I just want people to think before deciding who belongs and who doesn't. Tessa Rojas, bouncing her baby on her hip, nodded slowly. That's fair, really fair. Sandra gave Taven a discreet thumbs up before driving off in her golf cart. Celeste stood frozen, lips pressed into a thin line. She wasn't ready to apologize, maybe she never would be, but something had cracked. And for Taven, that was enough. This wasn't just about one afternoon. It was about the stories people carried into every interaction, and whether they had the courage to rewrite them. The pool area emptied, but the moment lingered. No one said it aloud, but everyone felt it. Something had shifted. It wasn't just about Celeste or Taven. It was about the quiet assumptions people made every day, sorting others into boxes without a second thought. Taven hadn't done anything extraordinary. He hadn't shouted, hadn't humiliated anyone. He'd just told the truth and let it hang in the air between them. By that evening, word had spread through Exwaiti willow pines. Like steam under a door, by morning it had travelled further than a stone's splash in water. In Building C, Carla, the single mum who'd worried about rent hikes, whispered to her neighbour. She tried to throw him out like he was nobody. Turns out he owns the place. Owns it. In Building A, Raymond was still holding court. Handled himself like a man raised right. Didn't yell, didn't try to shame her. That's rare these days. And in her apartment, Celeste sat by the kitchen window, stirring cold tea. The TV murmured, but her mind was stuck at the pool, replaying his words. You didn't ask, you assumed. There's a difference. It wasn't his calm that unsettled her. It was the realization that she hadn't thought at all. She'd seen a man where she didn't expect him, and jumped straight to judgment. The next morning, Taven returned, not to gloat or check on Celeste, but to meet Sandra and the maintenance crew for a walkthrough. Still, people watched him differently now, not with suspicion, but attention. In the parking lot, Miguel Cuba greeted him with an unforced smile. You good? Always, Taven said. Miguel hesitated. Meant what I said yesterday. You handled that better than I could have. You don't always pick the battles, Taven replied. Just how you carry yourself through them. Miguel nodded. Respect, man. Later that week, Veronica cornered Taven by the mailboxes. My brother runs an affordable complex in San Antonio. He's drowning. Could use someone like you to talk to. Happy to connect, Taven said. She grinned. You're the first landlord I've ever said that to. Not everyone spoke up. Some kept their distance, wondering if they were part of the problem. But even the quiet ones walked slower past him now, really seeing him for the first time. 4 days after the pool incident, Celeste passed the leasing office and spotted Taven signing paperwork. She stopped. I wasn't raised to speak without thinking, she said abruptly. But I forgot that. Taven studied her. People forget all kinds of things. What matters is what they remember next time. She looked down. I won't forget this one. No handshake, no forced reconciliation, just silence that said enough. A week passed, then 2. The story didn't disappear, but its edges softened, like a sharp stone worn smooth by waves. Taven kept coming back, not to supervise, but to be there. By the community garden, near the dog park. And yes, at the pool. Veronica started bringing him her terrible hospital lemon bars. They're awful, she admitted, handing him one. But you earned it. He ate it anyway. Even Raymond greeted him by name now. Still own the place, huh? Still do. Well, don't start charging for balcony seats. I got prime real estate up here. Not everything had changed. Old habits crept back. New tenants still got sidelong glances, but people caught themselves faster now, paused before assuming. And then there was Celeste. Celeste never apologized again. But one morning a small envelope appeared at the leasing office with Taven's name on it. Inside, a single note in precise cursive. I judged you unfairly. I'm working on that. No signature, just one more line. This place matters to me, and I can do better. He kept it. The next time they crossed paths by the mailboxes, she offered a small, tentative nod. He returned it. "Morning," he said. "Morning," she replied. That was all. Taven didn't need more. He knew change rarely came with fanfare. Sometimes it was just a pause, a breath between impulse and action. The community responded to his quiet leadership in subtle ways. At the next tenant meeting, more hands went up. New faces showed. The tone shifted. Fewer complaints, more dialogue. Sandra, the maintenance lead, noted it as they walked the property. "Funny. You barely spoke that day, but it hit harder than shouting ever could." "People hear what they're ready for," Taven replied. He hadn't set out to be a hero, just a landlord who cared. But care, it turned out, was a mirror. And when people saw their reflections in it, some couldn't look away. 2 months later, a new family moved into Unit 107. A mother, a teenage son, and a skittish terrier. No one interrogated them. No one side-eyed them at the pool. Instead, a neighbor left a potted plant at their door. Another slipped a list of the best takeout spots under their mat. Taven noticed, not for credit, but as confirmation. When given the chance, people grow. That evening, he sat by the pool again, notebook on his knee. Across the courtyard, Veronica waved at Celeste. A small gesture, but seismic. Celeste, in her visor and sandals, waved back. Nearby, Raymond lowered himself onto the bench beside Taven with a theatrical groan. "Place feels different lately," he mused. Good different. Real different. Folks thinking before they talk. Not everyone, but enough. Cicadas hummed. The pool skimmer clinked against the water. Not perfect, but peaceful. "People used to think quiet meant weak," Raymond said. "But you're kinda quiet. Makes folks listen harder." The words stayed with Taven. Not as praise, but as a reminder. His mother hadn't raised him to win arguments. She'd raised him to build spaces where arguments weren't necessary. Willow Pines wasn't transformed, just tilted. Celeste still patrolled the grounds, but now asked before accusing. Veronica hosted Saturday book swaps. Raymond taught kids to bike safely. Miguel and Tessa's group chat became a lifeline for extra groceries or quick fixes. No policies, no speeches, just people choosing, one small act at a time, to see each other fully. As dusk fell, Taven stood, sliding his notebook away. He scanned the pool area, chairs tidy, gate secure, residents relaxed. Then he left. Because the loudest statement wasn't in words, it was in leaving things better than he'd found them. Assumptions divide, but how we respond, especially when underestimated, can rebuild. You don't need to shout to shift the world. Sometimes truth plus patience rewrite entire communities. Character isn't what you show when watched. It's what you choose when no one's looking.